Make it.
There you are.
I think we've already started recording.
Okay, great. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Dr. Mel or Melanie or Breya. And this is my lovely soul sister, Chanel.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh my gosh, there's a little Matthew McConaughey there. So my name is Chanel. I am an ordained minister, although I am unaffiliated with the church. For now, I am working in the ministerial program to take over the first spiritual temple, which is the oldest spiritual church, arguably in the world. So a little bit of an eclectic mix between the two of us.
Yeah, I mean, like my career is that I'm a holistic naturopathic doctor, and I take people on healing retreats. And of course, none of us probably want to define ourselves, but it is pretty a good fit for me and like my mission on this planet. And I think that me and Chanel have somehow come together and have very similar or complementing life missions. And so we want to just get out there and share with all of you. And like she was saying, that the ordained minister thing, but she's not affiliated with the church. In the last 2 weeks, so many people have come into the clinic here in Phoenix that have had trauma. And it's either it goes as far as like from being part of a cult, right, to what we would perhaps consider to be a normal religion, but it was like they had to escape from it. Like I had a woman that had to leave, which we would a religion that we would all think is like a normal, well-known mainstream religion, in her car with her kids with nothing, to escape the pressure, and even is dealing with her own trauma with her children of making them comply to what she thought was just the way it had to be. And I want you to meet her, Chanel. She's super amazing, actually a really cool healer woman as well. But they just keep piling in, and a lot interestingly in the last weeks from the South, from like the Bible Belt area that's been coming in. So it's definitely a thing.
Yeah. So, I think this is a good topic for us to talk about. So we think about cults as being, like
Waco, Texas.
Well, yeah, Waco, Texas, the Jones Massacre. What was the one where the comet came and they all drank the poison Kool-Aid, like
Right.
back in right? So that's what we think about. But what we don't think about is really it's about those groups, and they can be socioeconomic, they can be large religion, they can, I was raised very communally in the mountains, and I was very cut off from the rest of the world. And it's really about controlling how you think, not only about the world, but about yourself. And so, I really didn't start thinking about things on my own till probably in my mid-30s. I was constantly thinking about, what's this person going to think? Am I thinking right? I really want to go out with this boy, but it's wrong to have, any type of sexual thoughts. Or it's, I wanted to go get my nails done, and it was selfish of me because everybody else thought it was selfish of me because I was a mother, and who am I to put myself first? So I think we get in this panic about what do other people think, and we try to conform to that. And then what ends up happening is we become sad, disconnected from ourselves. And those are the people you can control. You can't control happy people who are connected with themselves, who are connected with spirit. And so that's what that cult brings. If you don't think the way that you're told to think and believe the way that you're told to believe, and who's to say they're right or wrong, then you're not expressing what's true for you, and you're not working on a one-on-one relationship with yourself, or a one-on-one relationship with whatever God you choose to work with, even if it's an energetic universal consciousness and not necessarily a deity.
Yeah, and I just like to pull like a pearl out of there. Worrying about what other people think. Let's pull that one out of there, because I think that a lot of people get into trouble and make themselves suffer worrying about what other people think. And maybe those people are worrying about what other people think, you know? And wouldn't we just be a lot happier if we just followed our heart and did what our heart wanted to do instead of going outside for guidance? I mean, if it's not kicking a puppy or something like that, you know, like if you want to do it, you can be like, is this going to raise my vibration or is this going to lower my vibration? And we know if it's going to raise our vibration. We know inside. We don't need to look outside for that, you know. And the best life you can have, the best example you can be for other people is being true to yourself. People pleasing pleases no one.
It doesn't. But, you know, you talked about, raising your vibration. So if you look at Hawkins, is it David Hawkins who does the scale of consciousness? Love and joy,
Yeah.
right? And so joy is at the top of that. Joy is actually above love. And at the bottom of that scale is shame and guilt. So what happens in your mainstream religions, or even in the fundamentalist religions? If you don't think or look, then you're shamed and guilted. That's a very low vibration. But if you are loving yourself and you're expressing joy and whatever that means for you, then you are at this high vibration. Well, you can't control somebody to high vibration. You just can't. It's not possible to control somebody who's operating from love, from a vibration of love and above. So you have these groups, right? Generally organized, and they if you don't conform, then you're shamed and you're guilted. And psychologists are showing now that when you're gaslighted and you're mentally and emotionally abused, that changes the brain chemistry and it changes the way that your synapses are firing, and it's actually causing what do you call it? It causes brain damage, which leads to complex PTSD. And it takes decades. You can't just unlearn and unheal 30, 40 years of that type of mental, emotional, spiritual abuse. And Bree, that's really where you and I came together, trying to figure out how to unwind that type of work.
Right. And then just for I love that people are really getting more into like self help these days and wanting to grow. But for those that aren't quite sure, maybe what is gaslighting? Because like maybe they've heard it, like I don't think it's a good thing, but what exactly is that?
So I don't have the Webster's dictionary in front of me, but it is
No, just like
right.
free flow.
It's essentially when you have another person that you're interacting with that is trying to shift or change what reality is. Now it's a very interesting etymology. There's a movie in the 40s or the 50s where there was a very abusive relationship between this man and this woman. And back in those days, the street lights were done with gas, and it distorts when you ever see gas like over the top of a gas grill, how it distorts the air. And so that's how the term became gaslighting, because when you have gas fumes, it distorts everything around it and you can't see through the fumes clearly. So
yeah, I
that's
like
the origin.
excuse my language, but it's kind of like mind fuckery where you're like,
it absolutely is. So it absolutely
I thought I just
is.
saw that happen right in front of me, and you're telling me it didn't happen, and I'm like,
right. So and it's not within our, like neither one of us within our professionalism or our professional scope to really go into the psychology of gaslighting, but where it's packaged in is with narcissism is really a buzzword right now in the news or just in media, and it's more than just you're pissed off at an ex and you just feel like throwing that word around. Like it's actual damage and abusive. So you've got gaslighting, and it's usually packaged with a sociopath or a psychopath. There's amazing work. There's amazing information out there that far exceeds what you and I can bring to the table, but it's worth knowing. And where we where I'm working on is healing that. And I have to rebuild my brain. I have to rebuild the way my brain thinks. I have to,
Right.
relay new pathways to do that. You can't, it's not a broken bone.
Yeah, I would say like at first you're oblivious to the fact that it's
You
even
are.
happening. And then when you start realizing it, it's like you've been standing on a box and someone just kicked the box out from under you. And you're just like,
Right.
whoa. And then it comes up as like red flags because then you'll see someone's trying to manipulate me, someone's trying to control me, someone's lying to me, and you'll get these hits. And then it's a whole process. So then it's learning to like, right, okay, then maybe I don't want that in my life. Okay, that's healthy, right? But then there you also might get reactive because you might be pissed, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's, but first you have to realize what's going on. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the for abusers, one of the wonderful things that comes out of being the victim of that type of abuse, especially being raised in it. And I think the majority of children are raised with gaslighting because adults are always right and children are always wrong, which I do not agree with at all. I think children are always right and I think adults are always wrong. But
They
what
come
ends
in
up
really
happening,
pure, yeah.
yeah, right, because we teach them to lie. We teach them these things. They can't
To
come
be
in
polite.
pure. Right. We teach them how to do this. But when you are so when you're trying to figure out what's going on with abuse, the thing about the victim of gaslighting, especially that cult, is you do think you're crazy. And that's where that gaslighting comes from. And we've especially as a woman, right, we've all been said, oh, she's just crazy. And then you get out of it a few months and you're like, no, that mofo was, gaslighting me. He was lying, doing all these things. And so, but they're so charming about it, or our parents or our church elders are so, they have so much conviction in what they say that we, even though we instinctually and we spiritually know it's not right, we're told it over and over again, and it's not in alignment with our spirit and soul, and then it causes physical problems, but we think it's us.
I wanna pipe in there too, because that brings me back to just coming back to the wisdom of our body. Just like have you ever met someone and you're just like my stomach, like I'm just getting to know? Listen to that, right? And so
Absolutely.
even especially if we've experienced trauma, which most people have, and I'd venture to say there's a narcissist in every bunch, because they're great teachers. So for evolution,
Aren't
right?
they? For
Yeah.
everything.
So everything is happening for us and not to us. Let's not fall into like victim mentality, right? Like we came here to evolve, to raise the consciousness, to raise our own evolution and consciousness, right? So everything is happening for us and it's an opportunity to evolve. But like when you have a lot of trauma, you get really great at dissociating, like poof, like you leave your body. And so part of what I've learned and found really helpful is like coming back to your body, like maybe that's why people do yoga or exercising or like walking barefoot on the grass, like coming back, like grounding into the body, because the body will send you little signals, right? It's always trying to communicate to you. So the more present we become and tuned in, we can listen to our body's intuition and our body's guidance.
Right. So I was thinking about this for a second. I just want to let everybody know that, um, again, so I with the ministerial. What actually pays my bills is I work in local government, in a fairly high up capacity, um, and Breya is by no means a psychologist, but we're here because we've already worked through all this, and we're constantly working through all this. Like, this is stemming from decades of experience and decades of trying to find the pathway to heal, and we did it differently. And I think that there's a lot of ways to do this, and you have to find what vibes with you. Um, because what's worked for me to heal is not necessarily what works for Breya. And, and I do participate in some of the things that she offers, and it's working for so many beautiful people. So, you have to just figure out what works for you to get you through. And there's so many stages to get there. But I just want to let everybody know that we're not here because we have PhDs in this stuff.
No,
We're here because life demanded that we get here. and it was not pretty by any means. Sometimes, I mean, I don't mind admitting, that I was suicidal for a very long time because of it. And so there's just, we've been there, we've done it, right? This is not clinical research for either one of us.
Life experience.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Life
absolutely.
experience. Just sometimes those lessons are hard, but you always you get through it and you evolve, right? So you start here, then you're there. You're moving up that scale, right? What's his name? David Hawkins.
Yeah.
Incredible. What's that one that I love by him?
So you I think it's Letting Go, or The Power of Letting
Letting
Go.
Go. Get that on
Yeah.
audiobook, guys. David Hawkins, Let It Go. Like every
Right.
sentence is solid gold.
So the book that was really made famous from him was Power versus Force.
Right.
I don't think it was his first book, but it's definitely the one, because a lot of people, and I picked it up on accident. A lot of people pick it up on accident thinking it's like a business book. That was a book that really like put things in perspective for me.
Right. Right. And just think about those words, power versus force,
Yep.
right? Right. I was just saying to Chanel yesterday, like you can't force love,
No.
like in a romantic relationship, it has to just, it has to flow. You can't force anything in life. You'll hit your head on the door frame walking through the door.
Right.
You gotta flow with pure power of love.
So I'm reading, like I'm in my ministerial book, and the chapters I'm on right now they're just breezing through the energy centers, right? Like how we get energy from, prana. And again, it's like you have to let it flow. And we have a lot of people that are going and like forcing their chakras open and forcing this. Your chakras and everything are open when you are in alignment, right? When all of your energy bodies are in alignment, when you are in alignment with yourself, that's when they start opening, right? So when that happens, you have a little bit more of a natural flow. No, and we were talking yesterday, and kind of back to like this cult type stuff growing up, and that controlling. I think one of the things that, not I think, I know, one of the things that really hurt me and took me longer, I was what, 35, 36 when I started addressing these issues, and I'm only 41, so that's only what, 5 years. The problem is that I never had a single person tell me that they believed me. Everybody around me legitimately thought that I was crazy because my ex was so charismatic, and it was very pointed to me, and it wasn't an anger issue. It wasn't uncontrolled. He was very specific to me, and only when I was the only one around. And so that helps lead to that gaslighting, where you're trying to explain to people what's going on, but nobody believes you because they see all this wonderful thing, right? Like I was raised in this rambunctious, awesome, big family, but nobody really saw the control and the mind fuckery that was going on. So, Breya, I was telling you last night, I, from a very young age, used to tell my daughter, I believe you, I trust you, and I love you unconditionally no matter what you do. And I was so repetitive with that stuff. And I think that's great for a child, because we always want to say a child is lying. But the reality is it's the adults that are lying. The adults are gaslighting the children, and they're a vulnerable population. And it starts off young. So I think as a gift towards not just women, but to everybody, like what would happen if we told people, you know what? I believe you, and I totally trust you're part of it. Could you imagine what that would break open for that woman who's trying, or that person that's trying to, because you can't get help until you admit that you need help. But if you think you're the problem, and if you think that you're the one perpetrating all this stuff, imagine if somebody said, you know what? I totally believe you. It would do so much for a person.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like getting out to like trying new things, like kind of finding what works for you. I remember, many years ago, I was just like, I got a hit that I need to expand my psychic abilities, and so I just started like meditation group hopping around town, like going on meetup, like what's going on. oh, that was weird. Oh, that was great, and kind of finding, and I kind of slid into sound healing, right? It just kind of blasted me open. And then like every Tuesday, like that was my church. I was
That was
like,
your
I'm
thing.
sliding in after work to like sound healing. Later got inducted by this woman into sound healing and brought it into my own practice after, but she wouldn't give it to me, she's like, I was like, hey, that sound healing's cool. Is that something that like other people can learn how to do? And she was like, ha 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 ha, you're not ready yet, honey. And I was
Oh,
like,
I hate people
cool,
like that. Why
cool,
you
got
gotta
you. Okay, so
gatekeep the
she's like, just keep
healing?
doing your work. Just keep doing your work. Just keep doing your work. And I'm like, okay, I got you. And then one day she just called me out of the blue and she's like, it's time to induct you into the sound healing. Come to my house. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it was like a whole thing. And then that's how life is, right? You just keep doing your work and like things come to you. You don't force it.
You know,
Yeah.
so that reminds me a little bit about my experience. So I went a little bit more of the traditional Western. So I went by counseling because I went to counseling because I was told I was a problem. So I was trying to make myself better for all these abusers, right? By
Yeah.
the way. And and we didn't talk about vibration and how you attract things to you. And I'm not going to go too much into it, but I kept going into counselors that were narcissists and sociopaths, right? And so they kept reinforcing that I was the problem. I went to marriage counseling with my ex and she took his side, which they shouldn't do. And so I really want to let people know that I don't know what motivated me to keep going. Probably a little bit of the suicidal tendencies because I had a young daughter. So not all methods and not all people who show up as healers or teachers are created equal. And I think that
Listen.
right? And so you have a couple things you need to think about. First of all, um, if you don't like your counselor, go to a new one, right? If you had cancer and you didn't like your doctor, you get a second opinion. So like don't stop there. If you try sound healing and you don't vibe with it, go to a meditation or go to a this or go to a that. You're gonna find something. And when you keep putting it out there that you need healing, even if like I thought I was healing for one purpose and it turns out I was healing for another, which again was part of the journey. But don't go to one healer and be like, or one teacher and be like, oh, this is dumb, or I didn't get anything, or I came out worse. Because I came out worse for some of my counseling because I was dealing with sociopath counselors, narcissists, but I was also attracting that and I was unaware of what the problem was. So when I became aware of what the problem was, then I was able to start getting teachers and healers and psychologists and counselors that could help me. So just that was just it was hard, but and I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that something was dreadfully wrong. And if I didn't fix it, I was gonna die.
Yeah, and it's like I tell people when they go, oh, I tried counseling, didn't like it, and I hear that all the time, as a holistic doctor say, well, try another one, because like even like if I'm just looking for a new pair of shoes, it takes me a few pairs before I even find the right pair of shoes, and this is so much more than that, right? So just because it's scary to change and be vulnerable and heal and grow. So don't get like dismayed if like at first something doesn't fit, because life isn't like that. Everything isn't just doesn't like slide in first. You've got to like kind of test the waters and kind of be curious and test things out, and never give up on yourself, because you will heal, you will
Right.
feel better, you will enjoy your life, because it's your birthright.
It is, and so I just want to pull out earlier, you had said there's a narcissist in every group. And I love that because it's like it's everywhere right now. And it's a trending topic. And I think it's trending for a reason. Because first of all, we're not taking it anymore. We're taking back our power. We're thinking for ourselves, which is the greatest weapon that we can really hold against any type of abuse or suppression. But you know, Mel, there's narcissistic doctors of all
Oh
ranges,
yeah.
right? Naturopathic and medical and in all the disciplines. There's narcissistic and sociopathic counselors. I spend most of my time in the spiritual, mediumship, I'm a channel, that realm. And they abound. I can talk to the other side, and then they have like this holier than thou, thing. So narcissism is everywhere, and it does really, especially as a child, um, the power that you gain from recognizing it and working towards healing it is astounding. But don't think that it's going to go away, because it's not. And every time you clear out one narcissism from your group, if you're not healing it, it's going to show back up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a process. What I found in my journey is that it would take me less time the aha moment, right? Where
Yeah.
it would go, like your whole life to like 7 years to like 4 years to 2 years to like 2 months, and then I'm like, oh, I think that we finally broke this
Uh-huh.
legacy of like victim and narcissist. So that's great. That doesn't need to be our legacy anymore. And I just want to
No.
say, just because someone maybe is like an abuser and a narcissist, definitely boundaries, remove yourself. But like big picture, big picture, those people have been deeply hurt and wounded, right? Like people are reactions of what's been handed to them. So I'm not saying like try to fix them or anything like that, but like the compassion for the humans is how we break the cycle. We just compassion for yourself, compassion for them, whatever happened to them, and bless them and love them from like way over there,
Way over there.
but like don't don't
Yeah.
don't get stuck in the because it's like it's not even just do it for yourself.
Yeah, that brings up, another thought about what we were all raised with. And I challenge anybody, at least the United States, to have not been raised with this nugget of toxicity. Forgive and forget. It's family. You have to love them anyways. You have to invite them to the wedding. You have to invite them, right? And then what ends up happening is that you consistently are being exposed to toxicity. You had said love them and send them far away. Um,
I love you from over
not
here.
right. Oh, from over there. That doesn't diminish anything. Like, you are working on yourself, and you don't have to let people in. Like, I think that's so toxic to beat that into our children, that you have to love them for family. I didn't say I didn't love them, but I love myself too, and I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm exposed to that energy, or my children are exposed to that energy. So I've meditated a lot on this, and I wanted to kind of bring in a message that had been channeled through spirit, and I'm going to summarize it. But from a spiritual standpoint, we're all one, right? We're all connected. We're all one under God. It shows up in a lot of different ways through the different religions, and I do think that is a beautiful idea, even if it gets distorted in organized religion. But we're all one. And the message I got from spirit was to stop worrying about healing other people, because
Yeah.
that's their path, right? There's 8 billion people on earth right now, which means there's 8 billion pathways to God. There's 8 billion pathways to healing, because everybody has a different fingerprint of past experiences that they have to work through. But when we heal ourselves, we're raising our own vibration. And because we're all connected, if I raise my vibration, I have to raise the whole vibration of all of the human consciousness. I have to naturally. It's the spiritual law. So when you're healing, Mel, you're raising your vibration, you're taking me up with you. So and I'm taking everybody up with me as well. So you're actually loving all of the the humanity. And so those people that, are those narcissists and are those sociopaths, by virtue of healing yourself, you're helping them also on their own pathway by raising the vibration, because we're all connected. And I always just thought that was a really beautiful message from spirit, because we're always worried about, helping other people and doing this. But it's like, if you just focus on you, you're first of all, you're going to pull people in, and then directly, right? Like, you work with a lot of people who need healing, you've healed, and then people vibe to you and they want to heal up with you. So it creates this vortex. But that was always something that I don't like to proselytize my spirituality, but that one I always feel like needs to be shared.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to end on, and it just reminds me of that proverb, like you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So let's just fill our own cups, right? Put the focus there, and then that'll overflow to like everyone around you.
I absolutely agree. And so yeah, so we're at 33 minutes. I think it is a good place to end. I really just want to like emphasize this for the group. Um Breya and I really wanted to do this podcast about like let me back up a little bit. Her and I get together and these are the types of conversations we have, right? And they just flow naturally. And cooking and coming in and out of the house, we have these conversations. We can't help but have these conversations. And so a couple months ago it came up, I'm like, why are we not showing other women what's happening in a house or in a group amongst people that are learning and growing, right? There's no gossip. We don't put people down. We have two totally different life paths, two totally different personalities, and we just love each other unconditionally. But this is the level of conversation, right, Mel, that you and I have. So we want to show other people that these are great conversations, and it doesn't diminish. Breya has tons of fun, and I'm just as likely to have a glass of wine or a tequila on my patio. So we show up in life differently, but we show up in spirit and healing the same.
Yeah, so and just let's fill our own cup. Let's take care of us first, and then let it go out from there, because you're
Very
worth
good.
it.
Yes, and we trust you, we believe you, and you really are loved unconditionally, um, because we're all one. Girl, I love you. We'll have coffee, and I'll see you next Monday.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.